I've shared with you on this channel over the past few months a few metrics that we think are really important for all small business owners to pay attention to. Things like profit margin and labor efficiency ratio. If you want to go and check out those videos, we'll make sure to link those below if you missed those. But we are very firm at Clara CFO that we want business owners to be tracking certain things and that they are indicators of health. I want to share with you today a metric that we go over with all of our clients and our potential clients, and that is a metric that measures liquidity in the business. And liquidity basically means how much access do you have to cash for your business needs. So very simply. And liquidity, the concept of liquidity really comes from, is your assets or are your assets liquid? Are they very quickly accessible? And that's why we don't consider assets like a property to be very liquid, and we don't include that in our consideration of liquidity. Really what we mean is cash, or something that's considered a cash equivalent. Money that is not tied up in different types of structures where we can't access it quickly. All right. So this measurement that I want to talk to you guys about is called months of cash. It's a metric that we pay attention to, and I'm going to show you how to calculate it with real financials in just a second. This channel is all about helping you understand your financials better so that you can make better decisions and be empowered to make the right choices in your business. So if that is interesting to you and you aren't already a subscriber, I would love to have you here as a subscriber. So months of cash. What is it? What does it mean? Months of cash is a metric that basically says if you had a bucket of cash and you were to run your operations without any income coming in, how long would it take you for you to run out of money? Okay, so there is this sense of here oftentimes like you need to have savings in your business of a certain amount of cash, and oftentimes that number that people come up with, you need to have that certain amount, is really about how many months of operating expenses do you need in order to kind of be safe, quote unquote, and have enough, if something happened in your business. So we look at months of cash, and we look at it as an indicator, as this is something that maybe is telling us that we aren't charging enough for our services, or maybe we are distributing too much to owners, or maybe it's indicating that we need to go out and borrow some money for a short period of time until we can get on our feet for one reason or another. Or maybe it's telling us that our operating expenses are just too high and we need to consider trimming down. So this months of cash number can really give us a lot of insight into whether or not we're doing pretty well or whether we need to make some changes. So how do we calculate months of cash? I'm going to show you with real numbers in just a second, but very conceptually. We take all expenses. I like to have this for like a range of time, not just 1 month. You kind of want to have a longer period of time. 6 months is okay. 12 months kind of gives you a good average of what your operating expenses look like over the year. So you take all your expenses for a year, divide it by 12 if you're doing a year. If you're doing 6 months, you divide it by 6, so however many months it is. That gives you kind of an average expense per month. And then you take your total cash and then you divide it by that average expense per month. And that gives you your months of cash. Okay, so we are going to do a separate video on how much cash you need to save in your business and what are some things you need to think of. That's kind of a separate topic, but what I want to do is show you so you can get a firm grip on how many months of cash do you have. So let's go ahead and hop into some real financials right now so I can show you how to calculate months of cash, and then you guys can go and do that for yourself. Okay, here we are in some real financials, and I've streamlined them so that there's nothing identifiable in these numbers. But here we're doing this as of March 31st, and you can see I've got a bank balance here, and this, I made sure this is all considered liquid cash. This is just a checking account and a savings account here that make up this $108,000. So if we look at this number, this is our total cash number here. And this is the number that we're going to use as the numerator in our calculation. And then we're going to go to the profit and loss, and it's very important that you use the right date range in comparison. So I'm looking at the cash balance as of March 31st. Then I'm going to take the 12-month period before that, including March, so that we can make sure that we're looking at the right time periods here. Okay, so I took 12 months at ending March 31st, 2024. And I've simplified this too so that it doesn't have anything identifiable here. And in this case, because I know this business, I would consider the cost of goods sold a operating expense enough that I would actually include it in expenses. And then I'm going to add other operating expenses in here too. So we're going to take this number and we're going to take this number. And we're adding it together to get our total expenses. And then I'm going to divide that number by the number of months, by 12. So this is our average monthly expenses. All right, so now we're going to do our calculation. We're going to get our total cash, and then we're going to get our total expenses, and we're going to divide this by this. And this is not a dollar figure, this is just a number. So this is basically 1.8 months of cash is what this business has. So I'm not gonna give a lot of commentary on whether or not this is good or bad at this point, but this is the number and this is how you would calculate it for yourself, 1.8 months. Now, we could argue and say, well, if really all of our revenue went away, we could stretch that money a lot further because we would, not be spending certain money on different things. Some of our expenses are more nice to have, and we could cut those out really quickly. Yes, I would do the same thing. I get it. But this is just a number that you can use to measure how you're doing, how liquid is your company. And if something happened, if we had another global pandemic, how long can your business last with the cash that you have on hand? If this starts getting below a 1, you are more than likely hitting cash crises fairly often. So I do want you to, keep an eye on this number and look to increase it over time. Now, if you have, 24 months of cash sitting in your business, you might be thinking you might be hoarding cash too much, and you might need to be taking owner's distributions or doing something, investing into your business, doing some other things to actually use the cash. There are situations I see sometimes where people hoard a lot of cash when really it's way too much and you never will need that much savings in your business. So, there can be the extreme on the other side, but most of the time people are not leaving enough money in their business. And this is a good metric to pay attention to. If you read any blog post, it's going to tell you you need savings of 3 to 6 months of operating expenses in your business. And, I would say that's a good general rule, but I do want to make a video on exactly some things to think about when you think how much makes sense for my business though. Your business might need more than that, but your business might also do very well with less than that. So I want to get into some of the nitty-gritty of that in a future video. Tell me below if you've calculated your months of cash. Tell me below, I'd love to know. You don't have to tell me what it is, but just say, I calculated it, or yes, I did it, or that was easy. Tell me whatever it was. I'd love to know that you actually did this, and set a goal for yourself. So if you're thinking, hey, I'd like to, I'd really like to get to 1 extra month of cash. I'd like to do this or that. Set that goal, calculate this regularly, and then work towards the goal. All right? Okay, well, I hope that was helpful to you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I'll talk to you later.